My name is Anthony Onderko, and this is my speech called Video Games Don't Cause Violence. According to Michael D. Gallagher, who is president of the Entertainment Software Association, quote, "The myth that video games cause violent behavior is undermined by scientific research and common sense. So I want to persuade my audience to believe that video games don't cause violence." And so, a lot of people play video games, and there are claims that video games cause violence when mass shootings and homicides occur. And so I've played video games all my life, but I've never been influenced to harm anyone or whatever just because I played. So I will use Monroe's motivated sequence to organize my points. And first I will talk about how video games don't cause violence. Next I will speak about the proper ways video games should be handled. And lastly I will talk about the future benefits that video games bring. So first I'll speak about how video games don't cause violence. So according to the Federal Bureau of Justice Statistics, the violent crime rate in the US has gone down dramatically from 1994. And so this shows how the crime has decreased over the years. And while Christopher Fergus, who has a PhD in clinical psychology, says that video game sales have gone up just about every year, and serious violent youth crimes have been declining. And so this graph shows video game sales have been increasing, but youth violent crimes have decreased over the years. And so a majority of people think crime has gotten worse, but statistics show that it's actually been declining. And Grant Dew, a criminologist, says, quote, "While mass shootings rose between the 1960s and the 1990s, they actually dropped in the 2000s. And so this shows how mass shootings have increased until this decade, and then they decreased in the next decade. And so US News said that, quote, "According to the FBI statistics, youth violence has declined in recent years as computer and video game popularity soared. We do not claim that the increased popularity of games caused the decline, but the evidence makes a mockery of the suggestion that video games cause violent behavior." And so the violence that there was before video games and the violence today have one difference. And so that difference is the amount of violence. And so, according to Gallup, 1973 compared to 2009, there was 300% more violence. And so kids will also cause less violence when they play video games because it just makes them happier. And according to the American Psychological Association, the APA, quote, "If playing video games simply makes people happier, this seems to be a fundamental emotional benefit to consider." So next I'll speak about the proper ways video games should be handled by the parents and how video games should be, how they're actually regulated by the government, the mature games. And so there are solutions for the people that think video games cause violence. I know the proper ways that video games should be handled, and I know most people actually don't follow these ways. When followed correctly, video games will not cause violence. And so, Randy Dotiga from Health Day said, quote, "Children who spend more time playing video games might be slightly likelier to be hyperactive and to get into fights, but violent video games seem to have no effect on behavior, according to British researchers." And so, but this is only if children play too long. Like, they should take breaks, they should be able to go outside. They shouldn't play it for 10 hours straight. And according to the NW Missouri News, parents are to blame, not video games. Quote, "According to the APA, 90% of teenagers say their parents never check video game ratings before allowing them to buy games. Grand Theft Auto is rated M for mature, meaning that only children 17 or above can purchase it." And so if a game has this, that means someone 17 or plus has to buy that game. And so since 17 plus has to buy the game, quote, "This points the finger directly at the irresponsible parents who buy their preteen children violent video games without any knowledge of what's actually in the game." But parents have many options to keep an eye on their kid, like parental controls on the actual system. And so you can make it, an example of using the parental controls would be no rated M games can be played in the console. So now imagine if people actually started to accept that video games don't cause violence, and they saw the future benefits that they bring, and they actually focused on actual issues that our country faces. So when people start following the proper ways for video games to be played, they will see the future benefits of them. And according to the APA, children playing violent video games may get a boost in health and social skills. And children that play video games might have better problem-solving skills. And according to the APA, quote, a 2013 meta-analysis found that playing violent video games improved a player's capacity to think about objects in 3 dimensions, just as well as academic courses designed to enhance these same skills. And according to Forbes, another benefit of video games is competition. And competition is everywhere. We see it in schools, sports, politics, so much more. Quote, there are many important good aspects of competition, especially with video games. There needs to be more research looking at the positive aspects. And according to Chris Ferguson, society should stop harassing video games for causing violence when his research shows it doesn't. He thinks we should, quote, focus on issues that really matter and avoid devoting unnecessary resources to the pursuit of moral agendas with little practical value. And so with that, you're familiar with the reasons that video games don't cause violence. So I hope I persuade you to believe that video games do not cause violence. Remember that a lot of people play video games, and some wrongly believe that they cause violence. So violent crimes have gone down, and video game sales have gone up. So this shows that maybe that there is a connection between those two, and that maybe they do not cause violence. I've talked about the proper ways for video games to be bought and played, and I spoke about the future benefits that video games bring. And I want you all to follow my proper ways to play video games and to follow the proper ways to buy video games for your children. I think we should do more research into good aspects that video games do for us instead of always just criticizing them. Thank you.